Betrayed at the altar, a groom's ruthless revenge unfolds in shocking wedding scandal. I'll never forget the day I stood in front of 150 people, dressed in a tailored suit, ready to marry the woman I'd loved for 6 years. My name's Ethan, 32, a guy who'd spent half a decade building a life with Claire, 30, the woman I thought I'd grow old with. She was charming, sharp-witted, and had a smile that could light up a room, or so I believed. Looking back, I should have seen the cracks. The late nights she blamed on work, the way her phone was always face down, the sly glances she'd share with her so-called best friend, Mike. But love blinds you, doesn't it? It wraps you in a fog so thick you don't notice the knife until it's already in your back. We'd met in college, Claire and I. She was the life of every party, the girl who could talk her way out of anything. I was quieter, steady, her rock, she'd call me. Over the years, I built a small construction business from the ground up, pouring every ounce of myself into it while she flitted between jobs, always chasing something more exciting. I didn't mind. I loved her ambition, her fire. When I proposed 2 years ago, she cried, said yes, and we started planning a future. A house, kids, the whole damn dream. But Claire had a secret. One she thought she'd buried deep enough I'd never find it. She was wrong. It started 6 months before the wedding. I'd been working late, finalizing a contract that'd keep my business afloat for years. Claire had been distant, chalking it up to wedding stress. I bought it, why wouldn't I? Then one night, I came home early. Her car was in the driveway, but the house was dark. Odd, since she'd texted me she was out with friends. I let myself in quietly, figuring she'd crashed early. That's when I heard it. Low voices, a laugh I knew too well, coming from our bedroom. I stood there, frozen, my keys digging into my palm. Part of me wanted to turn around, pretend I hadn't heard. But I couldn't. I crept up the stairs, each step heavier than the last, until I reached the door. It was cracked open, just enough to see Claire tangled in our sheets with Mike, her best friend since high school, the guy she'd sworn was like a brother. He was shirtless, smirking, while she giggled, her head on his chest. "Ethan's so clueless," she said, her voice dripping with amusement. "He'll never figure it out." My world shattered. 6 years, countless sacrifices, all for this. A woman who'd turned our life into a punchline. I didn't storm in. I didn't scream. I backed away, silent as a ghost, and left. They never even knew I'd been there. The next morning, I acted normal. Kissed her cheek, made coffee, smiled through the bile in my throat. She didn't suspect a thing. That's when I decided, if Claire wanted to play games, I'd play better. I wasn't just going to walk away. I was going to dismantle her world, piece by piece, and make sure she felt every cut. First, I gathered evidence. I hired a PI, a grizzled guy named Tom who'd seen every flavor of betrayal. Within a week, he had photos, Claire and Mike at hotels, in his car, even at a bar where she'd told me she was working late. He dug up texts, too, ones she'd deleted from her phone, but not from the cloud. "Can't wait to ditch the dead weight," she'd written. "After the wedding, we'll figure out how to bleed him dry." Mike's reply, "He's too whipped to notice." We're golden. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning to ruin me, financially, emotionally, all while wearing my ring. That's when the prenup idea hit me. I called my lawyer, Sarah, a shark in a pantsuit who'd handled my business contracts. "Make it ironclad," I told her, "and add a fidelity clause. Any proof of infidelity before the wedding, she gets nothing. No alimony, no assets, not a dime." Sarah grinned. "You sure you want to play this hard?" I nodded. She started it. The prenup was ready in 3 days. I presented it to Claire over dinner, casual as hell. "Just a formality," I said, sliding it across the table. "Protects us both." Her eyes narrowed, but she signed it, probably thinking she'd outsmart me later. She had no idea I already had the upper hand. The wedding day came fast. I'd kept up the act, doting fiancé, excited groom, while quietly setting my trap. Claire had no clue what was coming. The venue was stunning. A sprawling estate with white roses everywhere, her dream wedding paid for mostly by me. Guests filled the seats, my parents beaming, her family oblivious. Mike was there, too, in the back row, smirking like he'd won something. The ceremony started. Claire walked down the aisle, radiant in her white dress, playing the perfect bride. We reached the vows, and I let her go first. She smiled, took the mic, and launched into a speech about trust and forever. The irony was thick enough to choke on. When she finished, the officiant turned to me. "Ethan, your vows?" I took a breath, smiled, and stepped forward. "Actually," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I've got something else to say first." The room went quiet. Claire tilted her head, confused. I reached into my jacket, pulled out a manila envelope, and held it up. "Claire, you've always been full of surprises. So here's mine." I opened the envelope and started tossing photos into the crowd, grainy shots of her and Mike. Time-stamped, undeniable. Gasps rippled through the guests. Claire's face went white. "What the hell are you doing?" she hissed, lunging for the pictures. I sidestepped her, pulling out the prenup next. "Oh, and this," I said, waving it. "Signed by you. Remember the fidelity clause? Infidelity voids everything. You get nothing." The room erupted. Her mother screamed. My best man, Jake, started laughing so hard he nearly fell over. Mike bolted for the exit, but a couple of my cousins blocked him, grinning like wolves. Claire grabbed my arm, nails digging in. "Ethan, stop. This isn't funny." "Funny." I yanked free, staring her down. "You think I'm laughing? 6 years, Claire. 6 years of me building a life for us, while you're screwing him and plotting to take me for all I'm worth. No, this isn't funny. This is justice." I turned to the crowd. "Wedding's off. Bar's still open if anyone wants a drink. I'm done here." Then I walked out, leaving her standing there, dress trailing in the dirt, her perfect day in ruins. She didn't take it lying down. The calls started that night, sobbing voicemails, then angry ones. "You humiliated me," she screeched in one. "I'll sue you for this." I didn't reply. The prenup was airtight, and Tom had already sent the evidence to her lawyer. She had no case. The fallout was brutal for her. Word spread like wildfire. Her friends ditched her, unwilling to be tied to the scandal. Her family was mortified. Her dad called me, apologizing, saying he'd had no idea. I believed him. He was a good guy, just stuck with a rotten daughter. Claire tried spinning it online, posting a teary video about how I'd overreacted. But Jake leaked the bridesmaids group chat, screenshots of her gloating about the affair, calling me a sucker. The internet tore her apart. Cheating bride trended for a week. Financially, she was screwed. The wedding deposits? Non-refundable, and in my name. The honeymoon, a Maldives trip I'd paid for, canceled, money back in my account. She'd contributed almost nothing, banking on my income post-marriage. Now she had zilch. A month later, she showed up at my house, disheveled, desperate. "Ethan, please," she begged, tears streaking her face. "I made a mistake. I love you. We can fix this." I looked at her, this woman I'd once adored, and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. "You didn't love me," I said. "You loved what I could give you. And now you've got nothing." I handed her a single photo, the one of her and Mike in our bed, framed like a twisted keepsake. "Here," I said, "something to remember me by." She stared at it, trembling, then dropped it and ran. I shut the door and never looked back. Claire's life unraveled after that. The viral backlash killed her career. She'd been a freelance graphic designer, but clients dropped her fast. Her social circle evaporated. Mike, he ghosted her, moved across the country, left her to drown in the mess she'd made. Last I heard, she was crashing with a distant cousin, broke and alone. Me? I sold the house, too many ghosts, and started fresh. My business thrived, and a year later, I met Lena, a woman who doesn't play games, who respects me as much as I respect her. Claire still emails sometimes, pathetic pleas for forgiveness. I delete them unread. She wanted to betray me, to break me. Instead, I broke her, methodically, mercilessly, and without regret. Revenge isn't sweet. It's cold, hard, and final. And damn, does it feel good.